be uncomfortable because you're naked, staring at yourself in the mirror, probably thinking the things, but you're dancing anyways.
Hello, welcome back to the Uncovery podcast. My name's Maddie, and I have an eating disorder that I'm in recovery from, and I'm also interviewing and sharing experiences and expertise of guests on this podcast that have either had eating disorders or have expertise in the area and something to offer in terms of their story. And yeah, that's what we're here to do. Now, this title of this episode is not just clickbait. It is very real. And I'm really excited for you to hear the conversation that I'm about to share with you. I'm going to just dive into Maria's bio because, to be honest, it speaks for itself. She speaks for herself. And I think that you will get an absolute load of information and your own fierceness, I hope, in listening to this episode. Maria's fierce honesty and stripped-back approach to sharing her journey to self-love through overcoming an eating disorder has amassed a global following. By seeking a healthy relationship with food, Maria has become an industry leader. She creates alongside brands that not only align with her values, but are innovators and industry pioneers like Bob's Red Mill, Chiquita, Field Roast, Facebook, and Good Catch Foods. Over the last 5 years as CEO of Food by Maria, Maria has educated readers and inspired vegans and non-vegans alike to embrace vibrant, wholesome, plant-based foods into their daily life. Her straightforward recipes are thoughtful, healthy, and nourishing while satisfying all cravings for classic comfort food and sweet indulgences. That hardly even begins to encompass everything that Maria is, and I think you're just going to love this episode and this conversation. I laughed out loud, as you will hear more than once, and I hope that you will too. So without further ado, welcome. I am so excited to have you here.
Thanks for having me, Maddie.
So I have been following you and your work and your online presence for ages, and you're local too. And so I feel this very you're just right in my backyard kind of a thing. And I've always found you so cool and inspiring and honest and real. And so I'm super excited to get to talk finally, because I felt like just in so many ways that you would be a kindred spirit. So first, right off the top, I would love if you could just tell me a little bit about who you are, what you do, and what are you about? What's your mission?
Yeah, for sure. So if you guys hear munching in the background, I'm eating naan bread and my lentil butter chicken sauce things. So yeah, I'm Maria Koutsogiannis, and I am the founder of Food by Maria. I'm a Greek first-gen immigrant. I am the oldest of 3 kids. My brother and sister, Peter and Dina, are pretty rad. I'm a control freak. I'm determined. I'm cutthroat blunt. Genuinely don't give a shit what you think about me most of the time. I'm a food recipe content creator. I'm a fiance to amazing Andrew. Doggy mommy to Herbert. I am living in the internet space as a content creative. I founded Food by Maria in 2015, so that's kind of my business. I mean, it is my business. I have a few side hustles along with those. So I have a course and courses that are involved with Media by Maria. And on top of that, I have a freelance content agency, Media by Maria, which is encompassed into the Maria method. What else can I tell you? What is my mission? So initially when I started Food by Maria, my mission was to really portray my motto, which was fear not, food is your friend. Teach people how to be less afraid of food, teach people that food is super dope and we should eat it all the time and feel a little less guilt associated to eating it each day. Cause I know that some people, it's hard. So I don't want to say that we should feel guiltless around food. And then you have people that are saying there should be no guilt associated to food. Yeah, well, not everyone's that lucky. So I just want everyone to feel happy every day around food. I want to fuck the sort of concept that the stigma that the news and the world and magazines and social media has created around food. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to look perfect. So that was Food by Maria's initial mission. And it still is, but there's so many other things. Now I'm a 7-figure company. I have 8 employees. I'm going crazy all the while trying to, stay grounded myself. Remember that everything's kind of happening for a reason and not panic 24/7. So although that is very much my mission still, I have realized that I can help other people become as successful, quote unquote, air quotes, friends. I'm not perfect. I'm just, every year I continue to progress. I want to teach people how I do all the things. So my newest mission is teaching people how to make money like I do.
Cool.
And for purposes of me not continuing to talk for 29 minutes, wait, next.
No, that's amazing. And these things, I mean, there's such an energy to you, and it is resonant. I mean, especially in speaking to you, but even in what you present to the world, in the work that you do, in the way that you approach work. And that initial mission, because it's been so long that I've followed you, that initial mission around fear not, food is your friend. Like, I could cry when I think about that as like a line. And I've read it in your work so many times. And I don't know that until more recently, I even felt capable of having that resonate with me personally. Right. And
That's
so maybe you could tell me a little bit about how you got to that point due to your own journey with food and fear and eating disorder.
To be quite blunt, it literally was just one morning after I had finished doing whatever I had to do, and 9 years ago, and I was like, I don't want to die. This is dumb. I don't want to die. This is crazy. So I grabbed some books, grabbed some nutrition books. I grabbed a camera. I took everything I knew about food and I was like, fuck it. Clean slate. Let's learn about this shit. And the more I learned, I was like, oh my God, I can eat. Like, I'm not going to die if I overeat. I'm not going to die if I eat, it was I was just trying to like reframe the opposite. I was like, dude, if you don't eat, there's consequences. There are consequences to overeating, surely, but we're not going to die of malnourishment. Right? So I really got to the point where I was like, fear not, food is your friend. Re-educate yourself. Re-stigmatize the carb conversation. Why is everyone so goddamn afraid of carbs? I get why certain people are, but who created that fear? Who's responsible? The big man? Yeah. Fuck the big man. Let's just focus on how we feel. Eat the damn carbs. People say I don't drink coffee personally. I did for a while, but then my heart wanted to like fall in my asshole. But like, do you? We know what our bodies want. You want to drink 3 cups of coffee a day? I don't personally recommend it, but if your body deals with it, occasionally you got to do the things that work for you. If quinoa every day is your carb of choice that you need to have moving forward to familiarize yourself with carbs, that's fine. Do I recommend it in the long term? No, but those are things I was doing. I was eating quinoa, kale salad, and salmon for lunch every day. And then eventually I was like, ooh, potatoes. And I learned different ways where I was like, you know what? I'm going to do the damn thing. And now I'm literally sitting here eating a whole freaking naan bread and a bowl of beautiful lentils with this creamy butter chicken sauce. And it's just transformational because I'm not looking at food as though it's like this demon. I'm thinking to myself, okay, I worked out. I did kickboxing. I'm not going to eat because I worked out. I'm going to eat because, well, I have a fuck ton to do today. I have to operate 3 businesses. I'm chasing around an adorable little puppy. I'm exhausted. I burn calories. I don't even really associate myself to calories, but as a human, we exist. We deserve to eat. So I associate it to real life things. I don't eat because I work out. I'm eating so that I can supplement this booty that I'm growing. So I can supplement the amazing legs that I've built so I can run away from people. The arms, so I can defend myself, or maybe I just, whatever. Beast mode. I want to be able to carry my kids up a mountain one day. I want to be able to run with my children in a park. I don't have kids, guys, but that's how we have to see life. It's like, do you want to fall ill to like all these simple things that we get so confused about? Or is it just as simple as eat good food, feel happy, and fuck the big man? But I know I really compressed that into like feeling simple. There were days where I had to dance naked in the mirror.
Okay. I want to talk about this. This is like one of we have to like unpack this part, because this is when you were doing this like daily online, that's sort of, I think, around the time that I found you. And so just to give people a little bit of context, on your Instagram stories or whatever it was, you would basically like dance in front of the mirror, naked, near naked, in your undies, whatever, as this healing sort of thing. And so I want to kind of back up a little bit and say, initially, from what I remember, it had to do with body dysmorphia almost. And this, like, how do we unlearn how my body feels it looks versus how does it actually look, like almost this exposure therapy. So can you kind of take me back to what was it like for you to experience body dysmorphia, which is, for listeners who don't know, this mismatch between what we think our body looks like and how it literally just exists. It's like we think this, but it is not like that. And often it's very distressing because we think we are like, we don't like the way we look. We don't like a certain part of our body or all of it, etc. And then but that's not even how our bodies exist in space. So tell me about your experience of suffering kind of that body dysmorphia. And then where did the dancing in the mirror come from and how did it impact your body dysmorphia?
Yeah. So body dysmorphia kicked in after I recovered from bulimia. And it was a realization. It was like, oh shit, like I actually suffer with these things, because I was so fit, so lean, very healthy looking. And I would nitpick at every inch and ounce of my body. And it was just silly. And if I looked back at photos from 2015 and 16, went through like my camera roll, it was just photo after photo of me in the mirror. Everything was me in the mirror. Thank God now it's only photos of food, Herbert, Andrew, and maybe like food. And when I say food, I don't mean I obsess over food. I mean my job.
Literally, you have to take pictures for your job every single day of food, and they're glorious. Like, everybody needs to go and check out all of your stuff. It's amazing.
Thank you. So once I realized, shit, I have body dysmorphia, I tried to reframe my mind around, this is a glimpse in time. We need to disassociate from how we feel right now and remember that it is not permanent. So for instance, I was suffering with some bloating or like body discomfort, just because, you suffer with something for so long, your body is going to struggle after. And I get really, really swollen in the belly. And I would immediately be like, well, this isn't good. And then I would try and associate with, but I wake up looking good. I wake up feeling fine. This isn't permanent. So the dancing sort of came from this place when I felt bloated or when I felt sad. It was just like, okay, we dance, we accept this. And the dancing just helped me remember, because like photos are so confusing, right? Like, when you get all dolled up and you look super bougie and cute, and then someone takes a photo of you and they're like, I don't look like that.
You're like, oh,
and
delete,
then
immediately delete.
And then I look in the mirror, I'm like, girl, she's cute. So it is no different. Like the way we perceive imagery is not real life. It's 1 second. So the dancing is the act of like a video, just accepting everything, every angle. Of course, you're not going to look good if you're like hunched over and all wild, but like when you're open and expressing and moving, it's another moment. and it's all encompassing. So it was really fun to just dance, be uncomfortable because you're naked, staring at yourself in the mirror, probably thinking the things, but you're dancing anyways. It was just doing the uncomfortable things. And it's funny, since the pandemic, I don't dance anymore. Does anyone dance anymore?
Well, I mean, I think we should, right? It's like it sucked the life out of us to some degree for sure. And I think that it's actually even more important that we like do that and do that kind of thing. I mean, I think it's why TikTok actually like took off when in the pandemic too, part of it. Cause like people were like, we're at home, we're going to dance, or like, if we don't, we're like going to figure out how to spend this time. But when you then also were sharing these videos, did you have any, like, what was your thought process in being like, I'm going to do this dance in front of the mirror wearing nada and I'm going to post it? What was your thought process to get there?
So I was never fully naked. I was underwear and like bralette. Just need to confirm, guys, I'm not crazy.
Well, because, Instagram would take that down, even though, it's probably fine.
But, I just came to the terms that no one gives a shit about what I look like. There was a lot of mental work that went into it. And to be honest, you block a lot of it out. But it was just continuously being like, you're good, you're perfect, you're healthy, you're beautiful, you're good, you're perfect, you're healthy, all those things, like weird little mantras and the songs and the music, and I would just feel it and then I would post it. But I think in those moments where I was still posting them, I think it was a weird validation process too. So it eventually got to the point where I was happy without validation. And then I would really start sharing the good shit. So it was like, hey, everyone, this is what I look like with the shorts on. This is my posing position. And this is what I would probably come on and show you guys. But now I want to show you what it would look like if I went to sit down and eat dinner. This is what it would look like if I slouched over to pick something up. So I tried my best to like show the real things. Right. And I think that supplemented really well with like the dancing naked, because I think people started to see like the dancing was working. I was able to show everything, the imperfect and the perfect. And then I think around this time, filters became really popular, something that I don't love using. I really don't think I've ever used a filter on Food by Maria unless it was made to make fun of filters, which is kind of brutal.
Yeah, that's a really like interesting and important thing that you do, or I guess don't do, compared to pretty much anything that you see online. And you really are like a strong opinion on the existence and use of filters, like proliferated all over social media. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I think they'll contribute to the continuing demise of our children and the way that we see each other versus how we want to be seen versus how we can go and just change ourselves. And don't get it twisted. You want to go get fillers and all the things. I genuinely don't care. I think if you go into it knowing it's not going to bring you joy, that's good. That's a very good start. If you're happy in yourself and you choose to make those changes, I think that's fine too. But we live in a society where we are upset about our lips. We go and get lip fillers, and then we're sad that they didn't bring us joy. Right? So with filters, it's like you're unhappy with how you look because everyone's wearing filters. So you put on a filter, and then you're still unhappy when you go out on a Friday night because that's not what you look like. Right. We don't put in, I hate saying the work, but it's like quick fixes right now, man. Everyone is just so used to popping on a filter. You know, they go to the gym for 1 month and they're like, I'm not seeing any progress. It's like, when in your life have you ever seen progress after a month?
Of anything? Of like, did you learn a language in a month?
Nothing.
Right. Did you get your degree in a month? Like, what are you talking about?
Right. So it's very confusing. So I think filters are just, I hate defending them, but I think if you want to feel good sometimes, that's fine. But I think relying on them to feel good That sucks.
I totally agree with you. I think it's one of these things where we have to be much more realistic about what they actually are, which is this, what you said, this moment in time through a lens that doesn't exist. But as you said, the younger you are, you cannot parse apart the Instagram versus reality. You believe that those two things are one and the same. It's not until you're older and realize that everything is bullshit because you've done, as you say, like, and I know I struggle with this phrase too, the work, or you've been through some things and you had this kind of illuminated where you're like, oh, that is not how this is.
What's happening?
Right. What's happening. And also, who cares, which is, I mean, I think miles ahead kind of, right, to get to the point of I don't care, and realizing that I don't think about other people in the way they look nearly as much as I believe other people think about me. It doesn't exist. To get there is tough, but to even parse apart Instagram filter versus reality, and then to expect that of young people, and not expect things like body dysmorphia, eating disorders, and just this general dissatisfaction with what your reality is, like, of course. So it's like having a following that you do and being as real and honest and unfiltered literally as you are is having the impact of normalizing what I think at some level every human being really wants, which is just to be accepted exactly as they are.
Yeah.
And your confidence in doing that and in presenting that, where does that come from? Like, how do you have this, because I think so many of us really struggle to be like, I don't care what people think. It's like, you think if you say the words enough, you'll believe it. But like, where does this come from in you? Because it's magnificent. It's like, it sounds like it's like 25 years of therapy, but
no, I've only seen 2 therapists. Okay, so need to clarify. I don't care what anyone thinks. But if my dad came to me and said, honey, it makes me feel sad when, I'd be like, it's my fucking dad. But like, if a bestie comes to me and says something that I disagree with, I don't care how she's going to take my response. That is not up to me. Am I going to disrespect her? Fuck no. But I have to tell the truth. So to answer your question, I think growing up, I was bullied because I was an immigrant. My parents didn't have money and then they had money. So I would get like Walmart shoes or weird outfits, and obviously grew up with a Greek nose, bushier eyebrows, like, just different and cooler looking than everyone else.
Obviously.
And that was hard. And you eventually get thick skin. Also think it might be a weird little combination of like daddy issues, because dad was never around because he was out working so hard. Mom was not around as much because she was out working so hard. So fundamentally, I didn't have like I was telling Andrew the other day, like, what was sitting at the table doing homework? Like, no, my parents never saw me do homework. I would do it in the room. If anything, I would have to help them. They'd be like, oh, what's this? Like, I didn't get help with homework. I got a lot of financial aid, but I didn't get a lot of psychological. I was told every day, you are beautiful. You don't need makeup. You're perfect just as you are. Like, he tried his best to be as like assertive about beauty as possible. And that really stuck with me. But like, at the end of the day, as a kid, like, I got bullied a lot from this one guy. And I remember the parents came to my parents' house to apologize. And I had never told my parents about it. So I literally said, Dad, pretend you know what he's talking about. And I ran upstairs. And then my parents didn't even have a conversation with me after that. They didn't mean any harm. Immigrants, right? Different world, different generation. They had tough fucking lives, right? Like, they did the best they could. So like, I did a lot of like inner reflection on my own, like, and I didn't talk to about it with my friends.
No one did. I mean, no one does at that age. No
Yeah,
one
I
is
guess
like,
so.
this
That's
made
so
me feel
true.
this, right? Like
Yeah.
we don't even have the vocabulary to
Yeah,
say
yeah.
what it is that we're feeling at that point. And even if
Oh,
we do, we just,
this was into grade 8.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think that definitely helped my aggressiveness. Obviously going through bulimia, you have to reframe the way you see yourself, and you have to become very assertive in your beliefs and like how you're going to come out of it. Overall, I think this is very how I was brought up. The fact that I'm Greek, so we are very forthcoming people. And I think trauma of this caliber, and only ever telling 4 people in my whole suffering, if you will, it gives you a lot of time to fucking tough the fuck up. So I think that was, and then, I mean, at the end of the day, you just got to remind yourself, when you die, no one's like, they're literally up there telling all the stories about when you made them laugh and how kind you were. Like, they're not going to be like, oh, so this one time Maria came out of this party and she was wearing a white dress. Like, no one cares.
Right. No one. This is so interesting. This is interesting timing. So right before we recorded, I was in group therapy, like online group, and because I'm doing all the things. I'm doing all the
Oh yeah, you are. Hell yeah,
100%. And we were literally doing an exercise that included, how will you be remembered? How do you wish to be remembered? And then how does that differ from how you would be remembered right now? So like in 10 years, how will that person be remembered versus today? And this total idea, in parallel to what you just said, which no one is going to get up and be like, she fit into those pants real good. She always looked good in a dress. It's like, I want to be remembered as loving kindness. I want to be remembered for leaving people better than I found them at every turn, and not to be remembered as I would be, I believe right now, as she really had so much and she did so much, but she did not have to struggle in the way that she did. Like there was so much more for her. If it were to end today, there was so much more ahead of you. Why are we not running like we are on fire towards that life, to those things that we can do?
I see what you're saying. That's really interesting. But just know that if you died today at your funeral, they would have a lot of good things to say about you.
I'm sure it wouldn't just be like, well, she sure fit into little clothes. Like,
no. I get what you're saying. It would be like at like a child's funeral. It's like she left too young. They left too young.
Yeah.
It would be like that, because I get what you're saying, because you haven't hit your optimal yet, but you do already do all those things. You do leave people with kindness. You do all those things. I just think once you love yourself more, you're going to be able to do those things at like 100%.
That is,
and you don't walk into those meetings thinking, fuck, am I going to sit down? Oh my God, what am I? And it's like,
yeah.
Just wear what makes you feel comfortable. Like, just go. I know it's so easier said than done, because like,
no, and it's all retrospect too, right? So it's like I recognize that like you had to get here, right? Like that's why I'm in awe of you, is that like I know how hard it is. So I know how hard it must have been for you. And so, you know, I don't expect it to be simple by any means, but I think once you are over that, then it feels simple again. You're like, well, of course, if I had only just created the simplicity in my brain at that time, but we don't have the energy to do that at the time. And
you are fixated on it. It's like a little crush. You got a big crush.
Yeah.
It's so hard to like just leave the crush on the table.
Right. Be like, he don't love you back. He's trying to kill you, actually.
Yeah. It takes time. It's so brutal.
Yeah. I wanted to because of all of the like the energy trying to be like, you have the energy then to show up 100% for the people that matter, for the things that matter, for the powerhouse that you deserve to be. And you embody that incredibly. You just like, it's like you have boundless energy. And I'm sure that,
I fall apart a lot, but
yeah.
I pick myself together again, pick myself up together again, and I add puzzle pieces every time.
Right. Yeah. And that energy then manifests in you delivering the messages that you do so beautifully and creating the content you do so incredibly with such talent and drive. And it's brought you to this place where like you're sharing the beauty and quality of food so generously with the world as your actual work and job. In all of this delivery of beautiful content and the incredible messaging that accompanies that around food and, you know, nutrition and taking care of your body, how was that transition from fearing food to literally now food is your job all of the time? What is that like?
Yeah. So it's so usual to see people like me, us, fall into jobs like this. And it can be concerning for some, but for me, I was meant to be in food well before I got sick. For me, it's not uncomfortable working with food. I am still human. And after like, let's say yesterday, I developed 8 recipes with my cook, my pastry chef, Tori. So I ate and tried 8 recipes. I didn't eat everything, but like, that's a fuck ton of food. I'm human. So I still have those moments where I was like, did I just eat 3 meals? But it's not negative. The struggle's a reminder. I mean, I had body dysmorphia and then I had a little bit of orthorexia. And then I eventually got to the point where my body started working like a machine. And I understood that food was fuel. And that's where fear not food is your friend came from. We are put on this earth to eat, to survive. We should not deprive ourselves of the one luxury we have that literally most of the world doesn't.
Okay. Yeah. Talk about like the knowledge of nutrition maybe, and like how that impacted the way that you approached food.
For sure. So while I was sick, my hair is nothing compared to how it is now.
And for reference, because like people are gonna be able to like go find your like social media and stuff and see your hair. You have more hair than I've ever seen on a human. Like you have the most beautiful, long, like so much damn hair.
It's I'm Greek, so it is obviously genetic. But
Right.
while I was unwell, I was depriving myself of so many nutrients that my hair was just not very healthy. Granted, I was dyeing it, weird carrot cuts, all the things, but like that's an example of further educating myself. I was like, oh wow, so like my nails would be healthier, my hair would be healthier, my teeth were healthier. I just didn't put a connection. I just thought food was like, sure, we ate it because we required energy, but it gave you so much more than that. It provided us brain fuel. It would provide us, you know, healthy organs, stronger enamel, stronger bone density, all these damn things. So it was really nice to kind of witness a connection. And like on days where I just like, you know, needed a little bit of comfort, like carbs would bring me that. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. And then like, you know, even just discovering like, what are the chemicals, not the chemicals, the
like hormones and neurotransmitters.
Yeah. Like the serotonin in turkey, like little things like that. I was like, damn, if turkey can do that, think of all the other vegetables and their positive benefits. Like beets are incredibly good for oxidizing your blood. So you get more energy and you feel jazzed and it's heart health. And then we've got things like, I don't know, freaking carrots where they just like help the keratin in your hair and your skin and all those things. It was just very interesting to read and be like, okay, like it makes sense now. So it was just little things for me to just remember food is so much more than just something on your plate that you should be afraid of.
Yeah.
And you get to curate your plate to be perfect for you.
Yeah. And it's not even just, oh, well, we're doing the bare minimum with food and eating the least that we can just to keep the lights on. You're like, you're revisualizing that this is also the building blocks of everything else that makes you you. inside out, emotions through to skin, through to everything that makes you up is literally built from the cells of the food that you're eating.
Yes.
And reframing that is incredibly powerful. And I think it's really difficult for a lot of people where, because those things are not visible to us. I mean, like eventually when you make the connections between like thicker hair, that's something that you can actually eventually start to see if you are using these building blocks of food. Like you don't exist on this earth to do the least. Why would you want to exist on the least calories possible? Literally, the point of food is to have calories to fuel you. But people struggle with this. Reframing that is really, really hard to do for so many people, probably because of all the media that we're consuming. How do you control your media consumption to stay out of that headspace continually forever?
I don't follow anyone that makes me feel like shit in that way. I'm smart enough now to be like, bullshit. Like every magazine cover you've seen, guys, no, it is fucking bullshit.
Does the photography piece of your job, has that transformed the way that you have seen how stuff is represented as well? Like you're like,
Maybe
I
a
know how
little.
everything's edited. Like I could, if I want to, I have these skills too.
Maybe because I edit food, but like when I had really bad acne, I learned how to remove the majority of it. Like you can do those things, but like I've never toyed with making things look thinner and stuff like that. I know there's this app that a lot of people use.
Don't even name it. We don't even want to point people to it.
Yeah, there are apps that are really bad. But no, I just literally know it's bullshit. And there's a lot of really funny Instagram accounts that I don't particularly love how they shame people, but they show like what someone looks in real life versus what they put on the internet. It's truly BS. And I think once we would just get really comfortable with the idea that like we're living in our own sim, we're living in 3D and we have to just observe and not take anything too seriously, the heaviness is sort of removed and suddenly you feel a little bit freer because you're like, well, fuck it. No one looks perfect. No one looks like this. No one's this way.
And nobody's looking at you thinking that you should. Nobody's thinking about you all that much at all. We kind of touched on this before we actually started recording, and it was like, nobody's thinking about you. And that's either terrifying or freeing, depending on how you want to like look at that.
I promise you, people don't care your appearance. People don't care about a lot of the things that you really convince yourself that they do care about, because at the end of the day, so many people have so much other stuff on their plate. And that doesn't mean that they don't care about you. I just simply mean acne, weight in funky places, how you eat in public, all those things. No one cares. Truly, I promise you, no one cares.
It's such a powerful way to sort of flip the narrative of social media on its head when it is your job, and flip the narrative of food on its head when it is your job, right? So you've taken these things that in so many other spaces and by so many other people's hands become that like toxic, poor messaging, really, really unhelpful to anybody who either isn't struggling but will then struggle or is already struggling. And so I commend you like from the ends of the earth and the bottom of my heart to just keep doing what you're doing the way that you're doing it. Do you struggle with any online feedback and hate?
I used to, but not anymore. I think people know who I am now and they don't come for me.
Because obviously they're not going to get to you. Like if you don't give a shit, then like the power of it's the same as bullying, really, where it's like you've taken the power away from people to impact you if you don't care what they say.
Yeah. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, the summer of, there were a few people that started commenting on my weight, and I would just screenshot and post them.
I love it.
And that's what I would do. And I think I started a thread where it said it's okay to tell people to fuck off.
I believe it is when they're going to comment on things like that. Yeah.
So, but overall, not too bad. I have really nice people who follow me. I'm pretty lucky. And then the ones that are like, lost. they'll come back. They always do. A bunch of people that were awful to me in high school have messaged me being like, dude, I was such a jerk in school. And I just don't reply.
Right. You're like, look at this preserved bubble of existence and life that I like now have.
They don't need a response from me. They don't.
They're doing it for them, really, right? When they
Yeah.
come back around like that, they're not doing it to make you feel better. It's so clear that you don't need that from them. They're coming back to be like, oh, I need to make myself feel better about this.
They're removing guilt.
Totally. 100%. Oh,
Yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you the last two questions that I ask every guest who has their own kind of experience with either disordered eating or eating disorder. What was the maybe least helpful or an unhelpful thing that somebody said or did in your recovery from your eating disorder?
That's a good one. I didn't have anything major because I didn't tell a lot of people, but an old roommate of mine took a picture of the toilet once and sent it to my friends.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
That's extremely okay.
Yeah. I don't like her. And if you're listening, just kidding.
Yeah. PSA, do not. I mean, that should go without saying. There should it shouldn't even be up for, oh, what's a great way to like help someone with an eating disorder? Like that is not it. If it's not abundantly clear to you as common sense, do not do it.
I understand where she was trying to go with it, but we had beef prior.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh, that's crummy. And I was like relapsing for the first time. So this was like 6 years into my eating disorder. Relapsed. She sent those photos. And then like a year and a half later, I got better. But it was just so brutal because I was like sitting at home. I remember I was in Swift and she was in this condo. And I was just like, fuck me.
That's horrific.
I felt really shameful because I couldn't even go there to like talk to her or flush or anything. Like she was just waiting.
That's horrific.
Yeah, it was brutal. But that's not really what you asked. I think the worst thing that maybe I was given is everyone was always like, you didn't see a therapist, you didn't go to a doctor. Like I did exactly what you weren't supposed to do. I recovered on my own.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like it's discouraged. Maybe I think most people just simply cannot do it that way. It's mostly just that like so many of us need more resources than our own, what we've got in the tank.
Yeah. So once I'd recovered on my own, to constantly hear that, it felt like maybe I like didn't recover properly, but then I was like, you know what? I did it. Like, we're good.
Can you recover wrong? If you're recovered, you can't have recovered wrong. You can have recovered a different way, and you can have recovered in a way that most people would not find that level of success with. And you can say that and caveat that, but your recovery is not invalid in the same way that your eating disorder is never invalid if you have it, right? Like every single experience that someone has in this is valid. That's powerful. And the last question then is, what is the best thing that anyone kind of either said or did in your recovery?
So my friend Whitney was super freaking supportive. She was awesome. I was never really nice back because I was angry. She would ask me questions.
Oh, that's an interesting dynamic. Yeah.
I mean, I have so many wonderful people in my life, but I can't remember feeling pain and then suddenly feeling like, oh, I know they're there for me. I had friends who asked that knew, but to an outsider, like my best friend, Nikki, had no idea. No idea. When I say I never told anyone, like my parents didn't even know.
Do they know now?
Yeah. And I've never told them to their face. They only just know because of my social media.
Interesting. So the conversation with them has actually never happened. It's just by osmosis of them consuming your content, which discusses it to some degree. That's the same lens that they have about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I just don't bother with it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I am, oh my gosh, I can't tell you how happy I am that we got to have this conversation. And your viewpoint is just, it's so amazing. And it's so real. And it's so easy to talk to you, to cut through the nonsense and the fluff. So I appreciate that more than I can ever tell you. I want to be able to share with people how they can see your work, I'll link everything as I always do. But I want you to basically say, come and see me at.
For sure. Yeah. So come check out the recipes at foodbymaria.com. Check out my social media, like at Food by Maria on Instagram, or you'll find me on stories and all the fun things, all the beautiful imagery and content we create. I'm just starting TikTok at Food by Maria. You can check out all my courses at themariamethod.com. We've got Media by Maria. My cookbook is on Amazon. My app is on the App Store, both Apple and Android.
Any chance that you're going to be dancing in the mirror in your underwear anytime soon?
There's a lightness coming. We'll see what happens in the world.
Okay, well, you'll have to let us know so that we can tell listeners about it.
I'm excited to revisit that person, but right now I think we can all agree we're quite distracted.
I think we're all in a bit of a place where we're like, look, we'll dance in front of the mirror when we can, okay?
Yeah. I mean, it doesn't take away from the recovery, but I certainly am not busting at the seams with joy every day, you guys.
Yeah. No, I don't know if any of us are, but I am right in this conversation. I feel like I am as close to busting at the seams with joy as I possibly could be right now. So thank you for being so happy.
Here. Thank you for having me, Maddie.
It's been an absolute pleasure. We will talk to you.